So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success story series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Kathy Williams, MBE OLY, who's director at RJC Dance. So, firstly, Kathy, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, RJC Dance, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Okay. Thank you, Chris, and thank you for inviting me on
Very
today.
welcome.
So as you said, my name is Kathy Williams. I'm an original member and director of RJC Dance. We're an organisation based in Leeds and have been in operation for over 32 years now.
Now,
RJC Dance creates transformative experiences through the arts and culture for diverse children, young people, adults and elders, and who have usually have limited access to the arts and cultural industry. As a young person, I was the first Black British female artistic gymnast of African descent to compete for Great Britain.
wonderful.
I went on to be selected and competed at the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. And shall I kind of stop there?
Wonderful. Yeah, we can stop there for a sec. I'm going to ask you about your background. So tell us a little bit more about that. What, yeah, and then moving into the organisation, how you got, how you having had that career, how you got into this particular organisation, and why is it so important to you?
I think so. Gymnastics is a very young sport. So I started at 10, which was quite old.
Right. Yes.
10. I started at 10 and had a wonderful and successful career as a gymnast, international elite gymnast, competing for Great Britain. And then at the end of that, it was like, what next?
Yes.
Um, and I then decided that I wanted maybe to be an actress. Then I decided I wanted to be a children's presenter. Um, and so therefore I decided to audition for the Northern School of Contemporary Dance in Leeds
Yep.
and also for drama school in London. So I applied and waited for the first invitation to come back. It was from the Northern School of Contemporary Dance, and I auditioned and accepted. So therefore, I didn't bother going down to London to audition for drama college. So yeah, that's
Wonderful.
what happened. That's what brought me back into dance or
Yes.
into a
Yes.
physical activity. Because obviously artistic gymnastics, which is the floor, vault, bars, beam, is very physical.
Yes.
Uh,
Absolutely.
and I was still relatively young, or young enough to go on to further training.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
keen to know, and we'll talk a bit later about we are a business coaching organisation, so we do coach business people in high performance alongside, and we've learned a lot of that from the sporting world because that's where it's been for a long time. What? So my question specific for you would be, what would you say? What are the key features it takes to become a a performer at that highest level? Because that's, Olympics is the top, the top of the tree. What would you say differentiates someone like yourself from people that are good or even pretty good? But
Tenacity,
yeah,
commitment,
great,
passion,
brilliant.
and I think determination. I was actually at home. It was summer holidays, and the Olympics happened to be on the TV. I saw Olga Korbut,
Yeah, I remember.
and I wasn't familiar with the apparatus at the time, but she was on the beam. She had this beautiful white leotard on, which I just thought was a costume with long sleeves. And she was doing somersaults and spins, and I was just like in awe. I was just like, wow,
Brilliant.
where is she? I want to do that, and I want to be wherever she is. And that was the Olympics, and that was a artistic gymnast. And yeah, I started training an after school provision at my junior school after that. And the rest is history.
Brilliant, brilliant. And interesting enough, I was just, that most, if not all of those traits you identified are traits of great leaders in general, leaders of businesses, organizations. We need most of those traits. Tenacity. I often ask people, what are some of the biggest things that they would learn about themselves? I will do for you. And it is the resilience to keep going in difficult times.
Especially with athletes, you unfortunately do get injured. And, that's always a very challenging time in any athlete's life. And it can be crucial, depending, you can be working towards Europeans or Worlds or Olympics. And to miss or not to get that spot in the team can be devastating.
Yes. Yeah, I can really understand that. Yeah, I mean, absolutely fascinating. We do, as I say, we do take a lot of learning from the sporting world. In fact, we have how many? We've got two Olympians. I'm trying to think if we've got two Olympians and an international rugby player, a rugby coach and player in our next business conference, funnily enough. So, in fact, that we've got Daley Thompson. I'm just thinking that obviously Daley Thompson, is he prior to you, or it'd be prior to you, I would imagine.
So we're cutting out a little bit, but I hope it's okay. So I have an amazing photograph with Daley Thompson from the Los Angeles Olympic Games. And it was a case of, oh my gosh, there is Daley Thompson over there. And I did take my picture and I treasure that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I could talk about the Olympics all day, but I will. Yes. Well, going back to RJC Dance, looking back, what are some of the key challenges that you've had to overcome over the last, obviously 30 years, but over the last sort of 10, 15 years, would you say?
So just to say that RJC Dance started off as a touring company, so professional dance touring company.
Wow.
So I'm an original member. It was started by Edward Lynch, MBE, and then there was 5 males and 1 female, which was myself. So we toured nationally and internationally, and whilst we were doing that, young people would come to us and parents would come to us and say, where can I sign my child up to do what you're doing? And then in about 2000, we started the youth provision, which is still in existence now.
Brilliant.
So we're no longer a touring company, but our focus is children and young people.
Great. Wonderful.
And for me, it was about providing opportunities for young people and making culture and art accessible to young people in the way that it happened for me. So because my school was providing after school activities, I was able to get into sport because we didn't have to pay for it. And so for me, it's about access, it's about inclusion, and it is about providing those life-changing opportunities. I know it sounds a bit cliche,
but
that's what we do for children and young people, and that's what we do here at RJC Dance.
Wonderful, wonderful. What are your greatest memories looking back of things that you've achieved?
Obviously the Olympic Games. And sharing that story with children, with the children, young people that I work with, and to let them know that anything is possible. I was just an everyday young person, got hooked into gymnastics and made a decision that I was going to go to the Olympics and I was going to be with the elite of the sport and have an amazing time. I mean, don't get me wrong, training was very hard, training was very challenging, and the run up to the Olympic Games and to the Worlds is very hard, you know, and you have to be committed, fully committed.
100%. Yeah, I've no doubt about that. And looking at RJC specifically, what are some of the biggest learnings you've had about growing an organisation, a business like that?
I think believing in your goals.
Yeah, great.
Believing in your goals. Investment.
Yeah.
valuing the business, valuing what we are trying to achieve, and also what we are trying to achieve for children, young people, adults, and elders. And just going back to one thing that you said over lockdown, Chris, one of the things that obviously was challenging is that we couldn't come into our space. And so therefore we started online classes.
Great. That must have been interesting.
Yeah, we started online classes. However, we had to get equipment. We had to make sure that we can operate from home. So it did take, it was challenging, but we managed. And one of the other things that we're very proud of is that we started online classes for elders.
Yeah, brilliant.
There was a lot of news talking about how older people had been forgotten in their care homes.
Yes.
And one of the things we did start was the chair-based or settee-based exercise for elders in their own homes. And we're still doing that now. We continue to offer that service. So that was a wonderful achievement amongst many others.
Brilliant. Absolutely wonderful. And I think we've obviously discussed we're a business coaching organisation. I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
Well, I started, I guess I was talent spotted at school. So I'm going to have to say my school teacher, Janet Slade, who is no longer with us now, and her husband, because they supported me. They took me to training.
Brilliant.
At one point, I went to get assessed in Huddersfield Gymnastics Club, and they would take me up and down the M62 2-3 days a week alongside my mum and dad, 2-3 days a week. At the weekend, I would get a train, stay over the weekend with my coach's parents, and then come back on Sunday, and so on and so forth. So, that commitment and that belief in me and my belief in myself had got me to the Olympics. But without that network of support, parents, coaches, teachers, it really wouldn't have happened.
No, wonderful. They're wonderful. And have you any favorite quotes or sayings around success or business that you find yourself using a lot?
I will always say anything is possible.
Yes.
At 10, I said I always knew that I was going to go to the Olympics. That was it. I knew the hard work, but along the way there was so many high points. I'll never ever forget the Olympics. My teammates became almost my gymnastic sisters, because the training camps, we spent a lot of time together in training camps, traveling around the world. We're still in contact now for all these years. And it's a real special time.
Yeah.
A real special time.
I can absolutely imagine. And
I think you talked about favorite sayings. I think Nelson Mandela has one, doesn't he? Which is, it always seems impossible until it's done.
Yes.
And it's so very true. Yeah. If you think about the gymnastic moves that they're doing now, we never would have thought about that in years gone by.
Yes.
Given that the equipment is improved as well, all sorts, the coaching is improved, the investment in the athlete has improved.
Yeah.
You're not fighting. When we were training, we were fighting against being at school, doing your work, doing your exams, and training for the Olympics or the Europeans or the Worlds. And now they've more or less cordoned off your life so you can excel in your sport.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the ability to learn to fit the learning into your schedule rather than your schedule into the learning, which is fundamental, I'm sure, to
And
increase.
also, when I was a gymnast, it was the amateur British Gymnastics
Yes.
Association.
Yeah.
We have professional gymnasts now.
Yep. It's, I mean, so many sports have changed so much, haven't they, over the last sort of 40, 50 years, from, as you say, so many amateur into professional. And yeah, I don't know if that, I don't know how much that is a good thing in many things, but I guess we wouldn't get improvement without professionality. I guess that's an obvious one to say.
Yes, absolutely. But I think the fact that you can invest the time into your
Yes.
sport now, without thinking you have to get a Saturday job or a job just to keep,
Yeah.
to keep living, literally.
Absolutely. So, and speaking of learning, what would you say you've learned about yourself throughout your journey so far?
I think I'm a very determined individual. I won't take no for an answer. There's
Yep.
always a way. There's always a way. And where there's a will, there's a way.
Yep.
I'm committed. I'm passionate. I don't take disappointment very well. However, I will always turn that on its head. I will find a way.
Yeah.
I will find a way to make that positive.
Brilliant.
And learn from it, whatever that disappointment is, learn.
It is so much value. You know, if we learn from the problems we have, the mistakes we made, wherever the things that don't quite go as they were, there's so much learning in there. And if we draw learning from it, then it often has more value than from success. In fact, I don't know if you're familiar with the athletics coach Frank Dick, who he's been an athletics coach for sort of 50, 60 years now, and we do a lot of work with him. And I remember him doing a session with us last year, and he said, absolutely, we should learn from the mistakes we make and the failures we have. You know, why didn't we quite go? But he said something I found really interesting. He said, but if we don't know why we've won, then it's luck. I found that fascinating because we
Yes.
also need to learn from our success, don't we? Rather than
Yes.
just accept it as being great. It's like, yeah, what did I learn? How did I make that happen? What was different to the last time? So I found that really fascinating.
I think also with athletes at the currently, which is very fortunate, is they don't just have their, for instance, I wouldn't just have my gymnastics coach now. They have their individual physios, a psychologist, their nutritionist.
Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely. It's all those marginal gains, isn't it? It's just everything perfectly, if everything is improved by a few percent, then the whole increases massively. And it's there's so many different ways, as you say, the mental side of things is quite phenomenal.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So looking forward a little bit, what does the future look like for yourselves at RJC Dance, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
Again, I'll always look on the bright side.
Yep, great.
Always a good place to start. Although I am a realist, I think it's all about sustainability,
Yep.
about investment, and and ensuring that out there in the big wide world, our business is valued and recognised.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And I'm keen to know what you'd say to anybody that was thinking of going to business right now.
Follow your dreams. Always follow your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't, you won't. I remember having ambitions, like I said, to be a children's presenter. and finishing at the Northern School of Contemporary Dance at the time and wanting to go into television. And I thought I would approach the BBC. Friends of mine says, oh, you'll never get in, you haven't got a degree, you haven't got a journalism degree, etc., etc. And I actually went through the side door and became a researcher in children in need, got into television, got into radio. And so where there's a will, there's a way.
Brilliant. Yeah, there's always a way, isn't there? And that's what I love about doing these interviews is I meet so many people that have achieved similar things, but in totally different ways, if that makes sense. It's
Yes. Yeah.
and so there is, one thing that makes it clear to me is there's no single secret. There are structures and things that you can follow that do work, and that's great. But there's no single route, but also there are so many different ways. And and I think that the people that I've spoken to that have been or some of them that have been most successful are the ones that use their own personal resources to the best benefit, like drew on their skill set, not trying to develop somebody else's.
Absolutely.
I think somebody said a little while ago, which I love, was the phrase she used was always be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Yeah, I was always going to say that. Be yourself, be proud of yourself, have confidence in yourself. Because you are, every single one of us are individuals and unique, and bring something different to the table.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And finally, we may well have covered some of this already, but what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that, Kathy?
The best advice. Get a mentor or 2 or 3. Believe in yourself. Never give up. And I think be patient. Nothing good comes easy.
Brilliant. There's a great phrase about success in general, which was, and it sounds like but it was something like be driven but patient, or be dissatisfied but patient. It was like the two things that sound like they're opposite, but there is an element we've got to be driven, but it's not going to happen overnight. So being dissatisfied is not going to work, and I find that really fascinating because it's balancing the drive to get there as quickly as possible, which many people have, with but it ain't going to happen overnight, and we have to take our time. Kathy, that's been absolutely fascinating speaking to you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge of both your amazing sports career and the success you've had in the business world. And for anyone that's watching would like to contact you or RJC Dance, what would be the best way to do that?
They could go to our website, www.rjcdance.org.uk, and all the details will be there. And we're on our socials, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, we're on all the social sites. Yeah, RJC Dance.
Well, it'd be great to swing by another 6-12 months and just see what the next stages are, and maybe get some more learnings from you. But for now, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chris.